All right, welcome back to another episode of The Climb. I'm Lisa.
Hi, I'm Jeremy.
And in today's episode, we're going to talk about our testimony and a little bit of my background story. If you guys didn't already watch the previous video on Jeremy's heart transplant and stroke, you might want to do that. That'll be kind of helpful to lead into what we're going to talk about today. All right, so let me get comfortable here. It's really cold in our basement too.
Yeah.
So cold. Okay, so a little bit about my story. I'll try to keep this brief. I was previously married. You guys might have heard us mention that in the previous episodes. I got pregnant when I was 21. And I don't think that my kid's dad and I were dating at the time. So we got pregnant. We did not love him. It was just kind of one of those situations where I was young and I didn't really know what to do. And also, that was never really my plan for my life. My plan was always to meet somebody, date them, be engaged, get married, and then have kids. So it was kind of just defeating feeling. And I remember us going to my parents. Our parents wanted to take us out to dinner and talk to us about the pregnancy. And I remember my dad saying, "Well, are you going to marry her?" And that was the conversation. And my ex-husband just kind of was like, yeah, I think he felt like that was what he had to do. And I think that's what my parents wanted us to do. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm 21. I don't want to raise this baby alone, but I'm not in love with this person. And we weren't even dating at the time. We had kind of just broke up, and then I found out I was pregnant. So fast forward to 7 months later, I'm 7 months pregnant, and we end up getting married. And I will never forget sitting there, strapping my shoes on and thinking, I told myself, don't do this. And it wasn't, we had a little wedding in this chapel in Idaho, and it wasn't a big wedding. There was 10 people we could invite. And I remember just walking down the aisle thinking, okay, well, maybe I will learn to love him. It was just so awkward for me. I honestly just did not want to marry this person. We ended up getting married, and our son Corbin was born. And a month into the marriage, and a month into Corbin being born, I had already filed for divorce. There was just some infidelity going on, and just a lot of verbal abuse, and a couple physical altercations that I was just like, this is not the person I want to be with or spend my life with, and I'm just going to raise this kid on my own. He ended up talking me out of that divorce, and I ended up staying married for 9 years. Ended up having 2 other kids with him, and I love my kids to death. I wouldn't trade that for the world.
Good boys, really good boys.
Yeah, 3 boys. I love my boys. And what was weird about that marriage is it was nothing that I just didn't know how to get out of it. It's I stayed because, one, I was financially secure. I was able to stay at home and raise my kids, which is something I really wanted. And then also, I had went to college and I had got my degree, but then I was a stay-at-home mom, so I didn't really have an out. I didn't have a place to go, or what would I do? And I remember praying every day in my marriage, God, please help me find a way to love this person. And I would Google how to survive in a loveless marriage. I didn't know what to do, and I felt so alone. And the one thing that I felt maybe kept us together was obviously the kids. I knew that he wasn't going to leave us, but I knew that he was still going to be unfaithful in certain areas down the road. And there was just a lot of messed up things that went on in the marriage on his behalf that I put up with and I shouldn't have, and I could have left, but it's just so much harder. And those of you who might be in a struggling marriage like that, or have been, and you kind of know that pain of even though you have a supportive family, getting out of something like that is a huge step. You think about your kids' lives. Are you going to ruin them? Or is it going to be better to be divorced and provide a stable life for the kids, or stay in an unhappy marriage where you're screaming and fighting every single day and the kids are seeing that abuse? Like, what do you do? And I just knew that growing up in the church too, like divorce was frowned upon unless there was
Yeah.
infidelity. And there were little things where like he was texting other women or things like that. And he was also very controlling. So when I was home with the kids all day, and I told you the story where I just want to go get groceries. It was like the end of the day. I'm like, I just need out of the house. I had no social life. I would call my mom every day and talk to her, but I didn't have friends. I just talked to my kids all day, and I loved that. But a mom does need a break sometimes. And so he'd come home from work, and I'd want to go get groceries. And he would stand there and hold the kids and say, oh, are you going to miss mommy? Do you want to go with mommy to the store? Things like that, where then they're crying because I'm leaving. And it would turn into this big episode of me feeling bad for the kids. Just that kind of manipulation and guilt just continued in the marriage. Like I was just in this trap. I wanted out, but the thing we did well together, I felt like we both loved the boys well. But I did feel like we were two complete strangers just raising kids together. I didn't love him. We were never like huggy or cuddly when we'd watch TV at night, we sat on separate couches. It's just a really weird vibe in a marriage and nothing that I ever wanted. And I always hoped that someday, I wanted to be happy and I wanted to find somebody that I truly loved and could spend my life with. And I just didn't see that ever happening with him.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so do you have any questions on that or anything?
No.
So yeah, we stayed married. And then at the 9-year mark, some things went down and I kind of got to the point where like divorce was on my mind, and then it was just a decision I made and I just went through with it. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to figure out how to be a single mom and raise 3 kids. I'm just going to have to figure out what to do. So at that time, he was removed from the house. I was living at the house with the kids. And I don't know if I don't want to tell like too many details. I'm trying to be like respectful, but
Yeah. Mhm.
he had moved out and in with my best friend, I guess I could say that. My best friend at the time. They ended up getting pregnant twice and having 2 kids between their families. So there was 6 kids total within that family in that house. So he was living with her, had their thing going on, but our divorce was still pending at this time. And it was a very awful, messy divorce. He made it very hard. And I know he was hurt. But also the way he went about everything was horrible, just very horrible. But once I made that decision to file those papers, I never looked back. I never once regretted my decision. I knew it was the right move, especially everything that happened after that was awful. We shared custody of the boys. And then so February, the papers were filed, and he fought me on that until August of 2018 is when our divorce was finalized. So during that time, I kind of walked away from God. I felt like a changed person in a sense that I finally felt like I could be myself again. And I started to draw again. I started to go running. I ran every day. That was just kind of my escape. And my kids were still in a Christian school at that time. But yeah, I felt like myself again. And I kind of jumped into a world of like, oh my gosh, there's so much out here that I knew nothing about, like dating. And I was like, there's dating apps? What's that?
Mhm.
I stopped going to our church. I stopped everything. I wasn't mad at God. I just didn't care anymore. So got on some dating apps, kind of had a crazy streak for a while, just wasn't walking with God at all. Divorce was final. Ended up dating some different people. Obviously those relationships didn't work out. And then 2019,
Mm-hmm.
so it was a good year. Yeah, about a year after my divorce. Wow, it seems so much longer in between that time that I met Jeremy. So we met online. It's kind of what people in their 30s do, I guess.
Yeah.
So he's just a year out of a heart transplant and a stroke. I'm a year out of a divorce, but in my mind, just completely moved on. Like, that's a complete different life now, and there was no turning back, and I was glad for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I had messaged Jeremy, and I think I actually saw you like on a couple dating apps, but you never
Mm-hmm.
messaged me. I never had reached out to you,
Mm-hmm.
but this one app I did.
Mm-hmm.
Texted you, messaged you, you wrote back. And that was November 30th. And I remember that because I was at a hockey game.
Yeah.
And I had texted you. And I remember texting you and being like, oh, hey, what are you up to this weekend? And so that was like a Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
And we briefly texted for a little bit. And I remember asking you, like, hey, what's your favorite food? Excuse me. And you were trying to say lasagna in a text.
But I can't spell lasagna
And
after
at
my
this
stroke.
point, I didn't know you had a stroke. So there's that. So you're trying to spell lasagna. I'm like asking you a bunch of questions. And you were texting me back like pretty quickly. And I made a comment. I was like, come on, Jeremy, stay with me. And you wrote back and you're like, I'm sorry, I'm trying. And now looking back, I feel horrible because I didn't know you had a stroke.
Yeah.
Well, you did say something. You said, sorry, I have a stroke. And in my mind, I was thinking, I don't know why, I was thinking seizure, not stroke.
Yeah.
I don't think I really knew what a stroke was. I didn't know what the repercussions of a stroke would be. So I just like dismissed the comment and didn't think anything of it. Then you asked me, hey, do you want to meet up on Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. So we barely texted like Saturday just for a couple hours, and then met you the next day. And it was kind of like, at that point, I really didn't have expectations. I think within that year's time, I had dated 3 people, had 3 relationships. At this point, I was just like, whatever. But I was still, even though I said I walked away from God, deep down, I still wanted somebody with those same core beliefs as me, meaning somebody who's a Christian, because I knew that someday my heart might change again, and I want that person to be on the same page as me.
Yeah.
And so in your bio, you said you were a Christian. I was like, okay, he seems normal.
Mm-hmm.
So we met Sunday afternoon. Hold on a second.
Okay.
We met Sunday. We were in this tiny little place. And I remember, so I walk in and you're standing there and you said, hi, Lisa, nice to meet you. Perfectly. Yeah. And I walked up to you and said, hi, Jeremy. And I gave you a hug. Mm-hmm. And then the next sentence out of your mouth, you were asking me if I wanted to go get something, was very, like, that's when I heard it, like, this guy cannot speak well.
Yeah.
Like, it was like one word at a time, and there were a lot of broken words in there. So what you asked me, I understood, but I immediately was just really taken aback, like, what? Like, oh my gosh, okay. Mm-hmm. He looked perfectly normal, like you wouldn't know that you had that.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was just like trying to process this, like, okay, what is happening? So we go sit down and we start talking. And that's when you kind of told me you had a transplant. And the place we were in was people in there. Mm-hmm. And it was a really like echoey place. Mm-hmm. And I remember not being embarrassed by you or anything, but embarrassed that everyone could hear our conversation because no one else was together. It was like one person here, one person there.
Yeah.
And it was so quiet in there. There's like no music in this place.
Yeah.
And I felt like everyone could just hear our conversation. I was like, this is just awkward. But we ended up talking for a couple hours or more.
Yeah, a long time.
Really good conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know, like that part just didn't bother me. And I think you felt more comfortable too as we, talked. What?
Yeah. Also, I practice my
Oh, yeah.
sentence to you a lot in the mirror at home.
In the mirror?
Yeah, it's like practice say that the sentence. Hi, Lisa. Nice to meet you. And a lot. But
Oh.
now as I'm proud I do that.
Uh-huh.
But after that,
You're
you
like,
see,
whatever comes out, comes out.
yeah. So I practice that sentence a lot at home
Mhm.
to speak it pretty well. And yeah,
Yeah.
good intentions, but
Well, and I remember my first thought about you two things was, whoa, he's really tall.
yeah,
I mean, you had your height in your bio, whatever, but
yeah. I'm 6'2",
not pictures
pretty,
of you
yeah,
like standing. Like I couldn't gauge that on anything.
mhm.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, he's really tall. Second, like, whoa, he has a really deep voice.
Yeah,
You know, when you see someone, you always kind of wonder, like, what are they going to sound like when they start
yeah.
talking?
Mhm.
Yeah, you had a really deep voice.
Yeah.
But no, we sat there, we had a really nice conversation, and um, told me about the heart transplant, the stroke, and then I was like, okay, that's why he's speaking like this. That makes
Mhm.
sense. So, good conversation. Learned a lot about each other, his home life, like our growing up, and it was so similar.
Yeah,
I was
really
like, "What do
similar.
your parents
Mhm.
do?" And you said they were pastors,
Mhm.
and I immediately was like, "Oh, good, like
Yeah.
good," because then I know that you have a stable home life, you had
Mhm.
a good upbringing, and
Yeah,
I'm going to be able
yeah, I
to relate
did.
to this guy a
Yeah,
lot.
I did. Mhm.
My parents aren't pastors, but we grew up in the church too. So,
Mhm.
and I think that's, oh yeah, I asked you how many siblings you had. And
Yeah.
that was the other thing is family was huge to me. Like
Mhm.
somebody who's really close with their family.
Yeah, I have, 5 siblings. I'm the
Hmm.
oldest of 6 kids.
And I have three sisters, or four in my family, and six kids in his.
Mhm.
So yeah, just kind
Yeah,
of
we're pretty close to our families.
really
Just
close.
yeah,
That was a huge thing.
yeah.
So many other things that we clicked on too, and just laughed. Like I remember laughing a lot with you, and you showed me pictures of your like, do you want to see something?
Oh,
And
yeah.
you asked me if I was like, if I get grossed out easily,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh, it depends. We
Yeah,
weren't eating, so that was fine.
it's like graphic.
Hmm. Tell
So
him what you showed me.
well, um, I asked my surgeon before my heart transplant, "Can I see my, heart inside my chest?" And he told me, "Well, you'll be sleeping, but I'll try to make it work." And after my surgery, um, and he showed me, he took a video of a new heart beating in my chest, and he captured it in video, and they sent it to me, and
Hmm.
it's pretty cool. I see my new heart beating in my own chest. It's pretty graphic, but it's real. So I feel lucky,
Hmm.
and I show her that, and
The
say,
video and the picture of your old heart
yeah, my old heart.
laying on the table.
Yeah, it's old heart. It's laying on the table, not beating. Also, they call it a mechanical heart or LVAD. The little small machine. So in my old heart, like a small machine, but so in my old heart,
And your heart was like
it's
around it. Like it was kind of gross looking. I know you said it was
yeah,
sewn into your heart, but
it's also it's big. My heart's
yeah.
big. Um, yeah,
So I was like, okay, this is something he does.
yeah,
Okay, want to see my heart?
yeah.
You
It's
like the pictures and
yeah. I like
showing people.
yeah. Who has a picture of their heart beating in their own chest?
It's just you.
So I feel lucky. So yeah.
So yeah, so we had our little first date. That went really well.
Mhm.
And I think it was just kind of like we just kept talking.
Mhm.
And so it was early December. And then the his birthday is December 11th. So I was like, I think we had hung out a couple times after that. I really don't remember. I'm sure we did. And then we were gonna go out to a movie for your birthday.
Mhm.
Because I had like just met you 2 weeks prior. So we ended up going and shooting pool because the movie thing didn't work out.
Yeah.
But he had bought tickets to a movie. Like we went there together. We met at the theater. and you had bought tickets. You went up to the counter, and we were going to watch the 7:00 movie. Well, he accidentally bought tickets to like the 9 p.m. movie.
Oh, yeah.
And so we were like standing there waiting to go in, and the ticket guy was like, "Oh yeah, your movie doesn't start till 9." We're like, "What?" Oh, damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just part
Yep.
of what goes on with a stroke and a transplant.
I- Sometimes when you tell me something or I read something, it doesn't really make sense. Like I feel
or you just
bad,
get confused.
but yeah, I get confused a lot, and like happened like 2 days, like this last week. Some people close to us, they sent a text to us about some guy falling, and I read it like he passed away, and I tell Lisa,
I was like, "What?"
This guy passed away, and she read the text to you like, oh,
He passed out.
yeah, passed out, not pass away. So
To your credit, it was early in the morning. We just woke up and looked at the phone. You know what it's like reading a text.
Yeah,
when your
so
eyes aren't
it happens.
focused.
Yeah, it happened to me a lot like that.
So yeah, we went and shot pool for your birthday and just kind of hung out. You had went to dinner earlier with your parents.
Yep.
Oh yeah, the other thing during our first date, something we talked about was, obviously in my bio, I was like, "Oh yeah, I have 3 kids and I'm divorced."
Mhm.
So he never been married, no kids himself. So I'm like, well, he knows I have kids. Like, how do you feel about that? And you said you had dated people with kids before, so it wasn't a big deal to you.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, like, well, 3 boys. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a
hope they
handful.
like me.
Also,
Yeah.
hope they like you.
Yeah.
Also, a big thing we talked about too, because it's always been my intention to date to marry. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not wasting my time getting to know someone and hanging out with them if you never want to get married. If
Mhm.
we are on this, separate pages with that, it just wasn't going to happen. So I remember asking you, what are you looking for? And your comment to me was, you said, a cool girlfriend, someone chill. And then you said, and maybe someday a wife. I was like, okay,
Mhm.
as long as that's an option someday.
Mhm.
But I was like, okay, well, he's worth getting to know. I felt like we had a lot in common. So yeah, then soon after that, you invited me to your sister's house. She was having like a friend's Christmas party. I remember you texting me like, "Hey, want to go to this party with me?" And I was like, "Is your sister okay with that?" I hadn't met his family at all.
Yeah.
I think that's when I met your family. I think your
Yeah,
parents
first
came to
time.
that too.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "Well, I appreciate the invite, but is your family okay with me? Like, you barely have been dating me, and you're like
Yeah.
asking me to meet your family like 2 weeks later." But I wanted to make sure that it was okay with your sister.
Well, they just loved you.
Yeah.
Like, man, I really like this girl. So they told me that later. Yeah, me too.
Well, you said the day before, on your birthday, you were having dinner with your parents, and your mom has told me this story where like you kept like looking at your phone, like she's like, "Jeremy, do you have somewhere to be?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Yeah, I have a date." And I think they were shocked because it was like so fresh after your transplant.
Yeah.
You could barely talk. And you're like, "You got a date?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, and you said, "Mom, she has 3 boys." I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, your poor mom's probably like, oh, geez, Jeremy."
Yeah.
Diving right in.
Yep.
But so anyway, went to your sister's house and met your family. And that right there was kind of like the nail in the coffin for me, meeting your family. Like, these people are real. They're so nice. They're so genuine. They're really accepting. And I did not have my kids. Oh, did I have?
No, that then.
I didn't have my boys with me.
Well,
Maybe
I don't think so.
No, but they did come over to
Yeah,
Tiffany's
later.
later and meet everyone. But yeah, I was like, this is a great family. And I was like, my parents would, love this family. And I thought about like joining your family together, when you marry someone and you want the parents to get along and have the same beliefs. And it
Mhm.
just makes things a lot easier.
Yeah.
So we ended up dating. Everything went well. You meeting my family went well. And I do remember telling my mom about you before they met you. And I was like, "Mom, I just want to tell you about this guy I met." And I said, he's so nice. And that was like my biggest thing about you two. You were just like the nicest person. And you didn't seem like cocky or a jerk, and you weren't loud and obnoxious, and you just seemed real, like real down to earth and very chill.
Mhm.
But I did tell my mom about your transplant. I said he had a transplant and he has a stroke. And I was telling her this because you were going to meet them soon. You were coming
Yeah.
down like end of December. I said, so it's really hard for him to talk. I go, he understands everything just fine, but speaking is really hard for him. So anyway, I remember my mom's comment, like she was really happy for me, but she said to me, are you sure that this is something you want to deal with?
Mhm.
And I know she didn't mean that in a mean way, but it was more out of concern for just, like that's a big thing to take on, somebody with a transplant stroke, and what are the problems going to look like in the future with that. But also, I have a son with a disability, and so at that time, just one disability.
Mhm.
And I felt like, well, I've dealt with stuff like this before, not heart transplant stuff, but other things. I was like, that's not going to stop me. I'm not going to like shut you out because you had something happen to you.
Mhm.
So, and I'm glad
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
So yeah, we dated.
Mhm.
And then 7 months later, we ended up getting engaged, and that was really exciting. My family was really happy for me. But then that all came crashing down.
Yeah.
No, it was probably, I think it was July. No, you proposed in July. It was one of your niece's birthdays, I think Hudson's birthday.
Yeah.
July 21st. You proposed to me. And then, well, how do I say this? We ended up breaking up a couple months later, called off the wedding. I think our wedding was set for October that year.
Yeah. Mhm.
And in 2020. So we ended up calling the wedding off and went through a really hard breakup. However, you were just having, I forgot about this, knee surgery again.
Yeah.
And you
Mhm.
were living in your apartment, and you lived on the second floor.
Mhm.
And I was in my apartment on the first floor. And part of your surgery, like you were in a leg brace and in a wheelchair, and you couldn't walk for like, was it 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't put pressure on your knee for 6 weeks. So I had already, before we broke up, said, okay, you can come stay with me and the boys, and we can take care of you, because I was on the first floor,
Mhm.
and just wheel you right in. And so anyway, we had got engaged, broke up, but I had already committed to this, and I knew that there was no one else in town that was going to be able to take care of you at that time.
Mhm.
And you wouldn't have been able to do it on your own. You needed help.
Someone needs someone to help me to move around, and
Mhm.
I'm pretty strong with upper body, but it's harder. I can't use my right leg.
And aside from that, you had to take your medication like at 3 in the morning. I had to
Yeah.
wake you up and
Yeah.
make sure you took,
Yeah.
plus the other meds that you have to take every day for your heart transplant,
Mm-hmm.
day and night.
Yeah.
So there was a lot. And I was just like, well, I'm going to still let him, stay with the boys and I. And that was just a hard time. I think we never lived together before we were married either. So
Mm-hmm.
him staying with us was already kind of crossing that line of,
Yeah.
but it was out of like a helpful heart. Like, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to help you. And so you're like immediately in our home with 3 boys, which at that time we had shared custody. So it was like week on, week off custody.
Yeah.
And I worked right down the road, so I could come home and check on you if I needed to. But I think that was a hard time. You were stressed out, you were annoyed, you were in pain.
Yep.
We had broken up. It was just kind of rough. So that happened. And then things were just kind of up and down. We were kind of on and off during that time until November. And November, I think we had broke up again. It was just really like dysfunctional. And we broke up. So November 16th, I remember I had went home, and I remember just bawling my eyes out. I think we had gotten to like a fight or something. And I remember just crying on my couch. I did not have my kids. And I Googled, I was on YouTube and I watched that couple, Ronnie and Mel, their testimony video.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how I found them or what I even searched, but this video pops up. And so it said like our testimony, and I'm watching this, and you watch that too. And that's a powerful story.
Yeah.
You guys should go look at that. Ronnie and Mel on YouTube.
Yeah.
And this video's older now, but their testimony is amazing. So I watched that. I was wrecked, and I was like, I remember crying out to God and just saying, like, I give up. Like, I'm tired of things not working out. I'm tired of it, just all this mess and all the crap I've gone through, and basically just said, I surrender everything to you. I'm going to change and come back to God. And so from that day on in November, I quit drinking. I think at that time, maybe I was still on social media, but completely just changed my life around. I had thrown my Bible out after my divorce. I remember that. So I went to the store, bought myself a new Bible, and I just started praying every day. And then I'll let you share your story, but I remember texting you the next day and basically just saying, or maybe I called you and I said, hey, I just want to let you know that I forgive you for whatever. And you had told me that you kind of had a similar experience.
Yeah. On
that same night.
Yeah. November 16th. I get so like I'm mad and I'm sad. I think we fight that night, and like, man, like, this is not working out with us, and really frustrated, and I just broke down. I cried a lot. I'm not a huge crier.
I've never seen him cry. To this day, I've never seen you cry.
Yeah, I can cry, but that night I cried a lot, and like I repented to God for my sins, and I don't know how to do this. God, can you help me? I don't know what to do. And so I just broke down and cried for a long time. And so next morning we decided to go their separate ways, or we're still in contact.
No, so we were still in contact. This was November. So then December.
Yeah.
We stayed friends, but
we stayed friends, but
tried to.
Yeah. And in like December, we decided we're not to talk anymore. Like,
it was just too hard.
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of person, sorry to interrupt. I'm not the kind of person that can just stay friends with an ex. But there was just something about you I couldn't let go of. But I knew that if I stayed friends with your family and your sisters and kept talking to everybody, I'd always be wondering, what was Jeremy doing? What's he up to?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I can't do that to myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just decided at the end of December to cut off all contact and to work on ourselves.
Yeah, and we did. Focus on God, solely on God, and focus on ourselves, and we're trying to better ourselves and better relationship with God before we think about someone else. For me, like before we're not really involved at church. Like we go to church
once in a while.
Once in a while. But after the service is over, we leave, and that's
I
it.
didn't know anybody in the church. We'd sit with your sister and her husband, but that was it.
Yeah, so we get more involved in church. I met Michael Orr, and he's like he go to that church, and he agreed to meet with me every week. So every Thursday morning.
Tuesday mornings.
Yeah, Tuesday morning, we meet. and a really good role model for me, and a really good friend. And I really value Michael and his friendship. Uh, Also, I take at church. I have a this
Discipleship class.
yeah, and I take the class like 3 months long every Wednesday night.
And I was going to do that with you. When we
Yeah,
were friends, we both signed up, but then I was like, well, if Jeremy's going to do it, and he had been going to that church longer,
yeah,
like I went to that church because of him. I felt like I needed to bow out so that you could do that. And I was like, I knew I would not be able to focus if you and I were in that class together and we weren't talking. That would be so awkward.
yeah. So I go.
Mm-hmm.
I finished that. And also I joined a men's group, a weekly thing, and I met good people like men, and also people at my class, and I'm getting more
Connected.
yeah, to that church and more connected.
That's so
It's
important too.
yeah, it's really helped me to more community.
And in my time too, I quit social media. I got off all social media. I didn't want any distractions.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we were both
Yeah.
off that. And at my job, I work at a screen printing company, and it's kind of just self-paced. So what I was doing at the time was probably like boxing up shirts or pulling them off the dryer to where I could put like earbuds in and listen to sermons or whatever I wanted to. So I would do that all day at work. I would come home from work when I did not have my kids, and all I would do all day till I went to sleep was read my Bible, watch sermons on YouTube, and I'd pray and I'd go to bed for an entire month. I had never felt closer to God. So that was like my whole life was just that church and not social media, not focusing on things like that.
Yeah, you go to a different church.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That was hard because Victory Faith is a church we go to, and I love that. I felt like that was my home church. Again, I had to distance myself from you. I was like, if I'm going to grow and I want to do things for God and not because He's the reason behind it, it had to be my own.
Mm-hmm.
So I found a new church, and it was what I needed at the time, but ended up going back to Victory Faith when we got back together. But
yeah, so me too. I really focus on God, and I'm sometimes I go read my Bible or good devotional time with God. But sometimes I do, sometimes not. But but at that time I read the Bible and spend time with God every day, every morning. I wake up really early,
yeah, you had a good routine.
we got like 5:30, and do my devotionals and make breakfast and good time with God in the morning. I really enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a big hiker. So now it's a little less hiking now, but so I see that I see like a vision in my head hiking and with me and Lisa, hiking in Mountain Meadow, and I know the place by Priest Lake of North Idaho, and I know the place. I've been there before, and beautiful area. And I see me and Lisa backpacking there, and I clearly see it in my head. Well, and see, it's a little weird.
You said we were like laughing together or holding hands or something.
Yeah. So a good time, and maybe the end of January, I felt that like vision. I see the vision, and after that, I prayed to God. Well, I feel God is releasing me to pursue Lisa again, or love Lisa again, and I feel strongly about that. And but I'm not
strongly, but
yeah. So I'm like,
are you sure?
Yeah, like Gideon. Yeah,
testing God.
Yeah,
if this is really real.
Yeah, show me this or show. Yeah, so I tell God again. Well, okay, but can you show me strong sign. Like, so I know that. I know.
Because you didn't want it to just be like, well, was that really God or was I just thinking that?
Yeah, yeah. So I prayed to God, show me sign of me and Lisa be together. Like, um, if I see it, I'll know. And like, and he did. 2 days later, I was in the grocery store, and I see her sister and her niece shopping in the restaurant grocery store I was at, and I was like, man, I know that person, Lisa's sister, and
you guys lived like 8 minutes away from each other, and that's the kicker is that you never saw each other out and about.
Yeah, we go to their house.
Yeah,
I know her.
Yeah, he knew them.
Never see him around town, like,
or shopping or anything.
yeah, but that time, 2 days later, after I prayed to God, show me the sign, and he did. So I know that I see her, and okay.
And it was during COVID too, right? Yeah, 2020. So people were in masks. So you kind of just saw them from here up.
Yeah.
But you knew.
Yeah.
Who it was.
So it's like I see her. Okay, all right, I get it, God. I get it. All right, I'm more excited to see your sister. Like, okay, really a little smiling.
Yeah.
And
she didn't see you though.
No.
Yeah.
And I meet with Michael like next day or days later, and I tell Michael about one of my prayers, and the God showed me a sign, and so I tell him I see her sister, and he say, "Wow, it's great." And so I asked her, "Well, I want to text her. how is she doing?" And she, "Great, do it." And maybe after that met with them, that day I text you, and what up? How are you doing? And so I forgot that when text I read or wrote, but
I remember it.
Yeah.
So now I'll tell my side.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I said, during that time I was just fully engulfed in God. Oh yeah, the boys and I went to every like worship night possible we could at that new church.
Yeah.
I joined like a women's group for like 2 nights, and then we had reconnected. But so in that time I was fully focused on God, and I kept praying. My prayer was I would still pray for Jeremy. I hope he's doing good. And I just felt like in my life those feelings for him were not going away, and it was making it harder. It was like hell some days. Like I'd go to work and I'd have to really like change my attitude and just be thankful I'm alive. I'm like, God, I know you have something better for me. And if it's not Jeremy, that I know whoever you have for me, it's going to be good. So I just, that was my hope that kept me going. And I pray for you every day. And the boys could see that too. They could see, that God was back in my life and more evident. And Ezekiel was starting to see things about God answering prayer. And I had kept in that month, I have a stack of journals like this thick, like 3 journals full of prayers for you. There are so many dreams I had about Jeremy. And one dream in particular I'll share because I think it was really cool. There were times where I was very tempted to reach out to him, but I was like, nope, I'm sticking to my guns. We said we're not going to contact each other. I didn't want to initiate anything between us. I wanted it to be God. So I was like, I'm shutting down all communication for anybody. I'm like, I don't want to create a relationship that's not God's will for my life. But I would still pray for you. And I had this one dream where it was like your birthday and you were running a race, and I had like made you a cake, and I wanted to meet you at the finish line to give you this cake. And I had called you, and your phone just rang and rang and rang, and then it would go to voicemail. And in my dream, I remember God saying to me, like, Jeremy is not finished running his race yet. Like, just wait. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so, of course, everything that was going on, what that said to me was, you're not ready yet. God is not done working on you yet.
Yeah.
He's not ready to bring us together, or whatever the case, that I had to just be patient and let God work. And so I had a lot of dreams like that with you in them. And so I didn't reach out, wasn't pursuing anybody else. I didn't want anybody else. I couldn't think of anybody but you. And you had quite the opposite. During that time, you had just kind of wrote me off, you said.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
like,
not
nope.
pursuing anyone. No, I'm not looking for any other girls. Like, nothing. I just focus on God, and I did.
But then you said even before your vision, you were like, "No, I'm over, Lisa. Like, you
Yeah.
just like weren't thinking about me really, or I don't
Yeah.
know." But I still had really strong feelings for you. But so one of my prayers to God was, God, if you want Jeremy, if Jeremy is to be my husband, because up until that point, aside from everything that went down, like, I knew there was something different about you and special about you. And like, your family is perfect. This seems like the perfect guy for me. Why is this not working out? And, but my prayer was, if if Jeremy is the man for me, bring him to me. Like, I'm not reaching out. I'm not going out of my way. I said, or if it's not Jeremy, you're going to have to bring the man you want me to marry to me. And so it's February 5th. It was my niece's birthday. The niece that you actually saw in the store with my sister.
Yeah.
So my sister Amber, her daughter Harper were in the store. And I'm sitting at my desk at work. It's 9 a.m. I replay this very vividly because it was such a, oh my gosh moment. My coworker Sydney is beside me. We're working, we're talking. And she kind of knew my story up until this point, kind of the changes I had gone through. So I saw her every day. So I was telling her everything. And my phone was on my desk and I saw this little green notification light. I was just like, picked up my phone, looked at it, and it says Jeremy. And I was like, oh my God. And my heart just like, no way. Because I was like praying that like, oh, I hope he, comes back to me. I wanted it to be you, but I didn't know if that was what God wanted.
Yeah.
And the text, paraphrasing, was just like, hi, Lisa, I hope you're doing well. You said I pray for you and the boys often. And I'm wondering if you'd like to meet me for coffee. I have something I want to talk to you about. And you said, I'm really excited to see you again or something. And so this particular day, I was really like swamped at work. So I read that and I was like, oh my God, Sydney. And I like showed her my phone and she read the message and then she looks at me. She's like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I said, it's a really good thing. But it took me an hour to respond to you, which is not normally. I'm like, I take like I'm like, oh, I'll respond right away. Of course, I had to think and pray about what to say. But my immediate reaction was, okay, what does he want? One, is he just bored? I wasn't going to get too giddy about it because I didn't know what you wanted to talk to me about. And that was going to be a big thing. So I finished my task, and then took a break to respond to you. And I was like, okay, well, I have my boys this week. Like, I can't meet you.
Oh, yeah.
I said, so you can come over for dinner like Thursday night. And this was like a Tuesday. And I just said, hey, we've been praying for you too. And I didn't want to be like, oh my gosh, I've just been praying for you to come back to me.
Yeah.
So I like tried to play it cool. I was like, it's no big deal. I haven't been thinking about you every day. So I text you. But you told me that you were the one like really anxious, like, oh, she hasn't wrote me back yet.
Yeah.
And were you still there with Michael?
No,
or had you left?
I left.
And you said that you were really anxious because.
Yeah, I was anxious. And before I text you, you're pretty good with responding quickly.
So you're like,
and now it's like 1 hour. Like, oh, I say something's good. Like, holy, she
had to
read
make
my
you
text
sweat a little bit.
Yeah.
No, that was not intentional. I was seriously like so busy.
Yeah.
And I had to think of what to say. But when you told me that, I thought it was really funny because you're not one person to like. You don't get anxious over things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's really funny. So,
Yeah.
I wrote you back. What were your thoughts when you read my response?
Really happy.
Mhm.
Really happy. She agreed to meet me, and she's open to maybe moving
Talking?
forward, maybe, but I'm not sure. But you're open to meet with me, so I'm really, really happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Thursday night rolls around. You come to my door and you're standing there holding flowers. I hugged you, but still at this point. Oh, wait, I have to back up. I have to tell about my dream that I had the night before you came over. Because I always forget about that part. It's like the most crucial.
All right.
So that night that you texted me, I went home. I'm laying in bed and I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my family. Oh, Jeremy reached out. I was
Mhm.
like, I'm going to wait and see what our encounter is like on Thursday.
Mhm.
Because if you're bored, if you're reaching out because you're bored or you're lonely,
Mhm.
I said, this is not going to move forward unless God told you to pursue me. There's
Mhm.
no way that, I was like, my standards were like up here now. And I really wanted to do it God's way. I was like, that's the only way that anything's ever going to work. So I'm laying in bed and I'm praying. I have worship music on and I just start sobbing. And so I remember I had my hands up in the air, my eyes are closed. I'm just laying there crying out to God. I'm praying. And I had a vision of God. I saw some clouds and then up in the clouds was God looking down at me. And he had a tear running down his cheek and he's smiling at me. And I heard him say, I release you to love Jeremy. And I was like, oh, it was so powerful. Getting choked up every time I talk about it. It was so powerful. And I went to sleep peacefully. So you come over the next day or 2 days later. You bring flowers. I hugged you. We sat down, had dinner with the boys. And then we went back into the bedroom to talk. And I was like, okay, we talked about what had gone on in the past month, kind of where our relationships with God were at. And then you told me about your vision.
Mhm.
And then once you said to me, you're like, I saw us in the meadow and I felt like God released me to love you or pursue you.
Mhm.
And I was like, what did you just say? I was like, did you say release?
Mhm.
And you're like, yeah. And I was like, that is the exact same word God gave me in my vision the other night. And so at that point, I knew this was not just us being bored or oh, hey, let's just try this again. It was definitely God speaking to us, saying, I want you two to be together. So then we got back together. And I think we kind of just, I don't know, continued where we left off. I was like, okay, well, we were engaged. Oh, yeah, you still had my ring. You tried to give my ring back.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Well, I tried to sell it,
That's
but
right.
I'm not.
I tried not to be offended when you
Well,
told me that. It's like, oh my God, I'm here praying for you, and you're like, can I sell
Well, I
this?
tell you, I was.
I know you were
I'm.
done.
Well, yeah, I'm done. Not done with you, but I am kind of I'm not pursuing anyone. So the ring
It's hilarious.
is expensive. Yeah, but they're not take it back. So
Yeah, because it was past the 30 days or whatever.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm stuck with this ring.
Bummer for
Hope you
you.
can use it.
And I still had your wedding ring because we had bought your wedding ring.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that till now.
Yeah.
So anyway, he did not give me the ring back though right away. We dated and we dated and just kind of took our time. Oh yeah, and then I started going back to church with you, and that's when you invited me to your life group because you had started life group with Michael and Lindsay.
Oh yeah, at that spring I get more involved in church, and I attended a life group. At Michael's house, he's a life group leader, so good people will get together at his house, and I would do devotions and with some studies, but good Christian people, yeah, I really enjoy it. So I invited her to come with me, and we did.
That was really fun getting to know all those people. And That's kind of how we got involved leading our own life group, which actually we start
Yeah,
on Tuesday.
we're signing up this Tuesday. We're leaving our own life group.
It's
We're
Sunday right now. I don't know when this will
yeah,
be
we're
posted,
like
so in 2 days.
we're a small group, but they call it our life group at our
We
church.
call them life groups, yeah.
Yeah, so good, close group of people will meet here and
I'll lead them in we're doing the Book of Judges in Michael and Lindsay's life group, which we attend on Thursdays. And that's been a really good series. So I think we're going to start that.
Yeah, maybe.
Because we have the book work for it and stuff.
So,
but anyway, we started going to Michael and Lindsay's life group, getting to know them. And then in March, I think you re-proposed to me. And what's funny is we were down at the lake and I don't know, we had got Dutch Bros. We're standing around. Yeah. I'm holding this iced coffee and it's freezing out.
Yeah.
And
March.
Yeah, in March. And you had the ring in your pocket.
Yeah.
It's funny, we had already been engaged. You've already been so nervous to propose to me the first time. So you had it in your pocket, and I didn't know that. I just knew at some point you would ask me to remarry you again.
Yeah.
And you did. I don't remember if you got down on one knee again. I don't think you did that time.
Well, the ground is
it was rock.
Sand. I think
the beach was rocky at that point.
Yeah, also sand too.
Yeah, and it's wet, so.
Yeah. But the lake, wintertime they'll let the water out, but it's dry down, but it's not too dry. It's still wet, so we walk around there. But yeah, I was really nervous that day. I wanted to propose to you.
It was after work. We just went for a walk.
Yeah, so I did. Just yes.
So, of course. Yeah. So we got re-engaged.
Yeah.
And told the family and everything. And at that point, they had already known that we were back together. And oh yeah, we had even booked a wedding venue. Remember at Baldy Mountain?
Yeah.
And that place was cool.
Yeah, it was.
It was during COVID, so everybody had their rules of no dancing, only 50 people.
Yeah.
And so this one, Baldy Mountain, it was in Sandpoint, so this resort town north of us. Yeah. Beautiful.
It was beautiful.
This mountain overlooked Lake Pend Oreille. Could you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, so pretty. And it was this log cabin, and the owner was so cool. And she's like, yeah, we can have dancing. And it was just kind of a long drive. It's about a little over an hour. But but we didn't marry there. No. So anyway, we had this place booked for, I don't remember. Was it October or November? Our first wedding date was set for the fall. Anyway, she had called me when we were not talking and said, hey, I just wanted to let you know. She's like, we're doing construction on the property and they sold it to somebody else. And she goes, I know you have your reservation and your deposit down. She said, so if you still have your wedding in November, she goes, there's going to be bulldozers out there and all this construction equipment. Yeah. She's like, I don't know if you still want to go through with the wedding. And at this point, I didn't even know if we were getting back together. So I said, just cancel it.
Yeah.
So cancel the whole venue. I got my refund for that. And so that was out of the picture now. So now we had to find a new venue in the middle of COVID. And we knew, I think June 12th was one of the dates that we had wanted to get married in the summer. And your mom actually, we knew that we wanted to get married in with the mountains in the background.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it just reminded me of something.
Yeah.
That was a big thing. We both love the outdoors. We both love the mountains. Did not want an indoor wedding. So finding a place, and out here in Idaho, North Idaho, we have mountains 360 degrees.
Yeah.
But finding a place where everybody can join, and there's a couple mountain resorts, but again, COVID, and those were super expensive.
Yeah,
Like
some are. Yeah,
$10,000 just to rent the place, and that didn't include food,
yeah,
linens, nothing.
expenses. Yeah.
So it's probably, I mean, we got back together in March, April, May, June, July, 3 months, June. We had to find a venue and plan a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to what I was saying. Your mom knew somebody who had a wedding venue,
Mm-hmm.
and she just so happened to have the date, June 12th, open.
Mm-hmm.
And it was up in Washington where his parents live.
Mm-hmm.
Like what, a 5-minute, 10-minute drive, 15?
Yeah, pretty close to my parents.
Yeah. So we went there. And what's funny is I always teased you about our wedding venue. I said, you are more picky than I am about the view.
Well, yeah, the view. Yeah, yeah.
Like really picky. I was like, I remember on our drive out there, I'm like, all right, Jeremy, this is our last hope. It's like, don't you dare be so picky that you shut it out, because it's like, we're getting married. Our wedding date is set. We need to find a place.
Mm-hmm.
And we pulled up, and it was this woman's house that she had as a wedding venue, and her whole backyard overlooked the valley, and you could still see the mountains.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Trees everywhere. So beautiful. And so, yeah, we booked that one.
Yep.
Thank goodness. And we're married June 12th. That went good.
Yeah. So it's, after that is, we go to Belize for our honeymoon. I'm a scuba diver, and I can scuba dive now. So a top notch diving place in Belize is a Blue Hole, and it's a huge hole. The it's an ocean. Yeah, but so I can dive there, so I did, and but it's beautiful there on the Caribbean. We spend how many days?
Like a week,
yeah,
6 to 7 days.
Yep.
But yeah, we had a great wedding.
Yep.
And honeymoon, and
yeah. So now we're come back and
almost
just
3 years into our marriage now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, we have a good marriage, learning experience. Sometimes hard days, but a lot of good days. But it's adjustment for me and Lisa living with someone else, but it's a good growing experience for us.
Harder for you, obviously, not ever have been married or lived with somebody else.
Yeah.
And not having kids. So that was all, previous experience that I had.
Yeah.
But now with a different person with a completely different mindset, you have Mr. Independent over here and Miss Needy over here.
Yeah, so nice, but yeah.
And so, but I don't know. I felt like as far as living together, I don't know. It's not like we argue about stupid stuff necessarily. Like I feel like we've gotten to the good groove of routine.
Yeah, it's getting better. The first couple of years, it's rough. It's good, but it's sometimes hard.
We were in the apartment. That's the other thing.
Small place.
He was in an apartment before we got married. I was in an apartment with my 3 boys. I was in a 2-bedroom apartment with 4 people before you.
Mm-hmm.
So all my boys shared a room. I had my own room. Tiny apartment, like 850 square feet.
Yeah.
So it was just natural when we got married for you to move in with us, which you did.
Mm-hmm.
And we only stayed there for a year. And then, then our rent was going to go up.
Yeah.
Like almost more than double what we paid.
Yeah.
Which was ridiculous for the apartment we were living in. It was like not worth it. And like new management, new owners. And that's when you're like, let's get out of here. Oh, that was the other thing. My kid's dad. Kind of forgot to tell about that. 2 weeks before we got married.
Or before or after?
Before our wedding.
Okay.
2 weeks before our wedding, we are on our way. I was on my way to pick you up to go to our life group end of the year barbecue, Michael and Lindsay's. I'm really excited for this. And we're getting married in June. Like everything's good. And I get a call from my ex and he's crying. And he's like, I have something to tell you. And he's like, I think I'm going away for a really long time. And I'm in the car with my kids. And I think I had to take him off speakerphone. I was like, what are you talking about? What's going on? He had made some really bad choices and he ended up going to prison. And So he's been there now for probably almost 3 years. He had went to jail first in Idaho and then got moved to prison in southern Idaho. And so at this point, I had shared custody with my kids week on, week off. And now we just found out that we're going to be having the boys at some point full time, which to me, I was happy for that because that back and forth was hell for me. I cried every time I had to leave my kids and not see them for a week. And so I was really happy for that. And I think you were a little hesitant too.
Well, I love the boys, but it's before it's like we have 50% of the time we have boys, other 50% we have alone.
I think you were looking forward to that.
Yeah, but with I think it's 2 months after marriage. I think so. We get the boys full time.
Oh yeah, 2 months after.
And so it's
quickly.
Yeah, so I'm a full time dad
and husband
for also husband too, but it's different for me.
Yeah,
I'm a little, maybe like hesitant, but maybe like that.
Like okay,
it's like, all right, well, let's roll with it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Good learning experience for me, other people too, but good for me. Dealing with hard times, but better times. And
but so now that their dad's in prison and is not going to get out until my kids are in their 30s.
Yeah.
So he has the opportunity now to be, a great stepdad and role model for the boys. And I think they've really, really adapted so good to everything. Our home life is so steady and stable for them and calm and loving. And not once since their dad has went to prison have they ever come to me and cried, or even you, and said they missed him. They've never shown any signs of like outbursts Corbin's got upset a couple of times. Yeah. When he's fighting with his brothers, then he blames it on what happened.
Yeah.
But never just that has been the problem to where they've come and, cried about it or say we miss him. And they talk to him on the phone daily, it seems like, or, every other day. I don't know.
Yeah.
For a short amount of time. And that's the only relationship they have with him. But so at this point, a year into our marriage, we decided we have nothing really holding us here. I mean, we have our family and
I love this place, Northwest.
Yeah.
Beautiful place.
But because the rent was going up and because we were at a good point where we even had a plan to like stay in the apartment for like a year and then find something else.
Yeah.
And so that was a good point to just say, hey, so what did we do?
We put our stuff in storage and travel for a little while.
Yeah.
Man, we'll get into this later, but
yeah.
Maybe
another podcast. So
so we're here and they're
maybe that could be a next podcast of like the testimony of this house.
Yeah.
And our trip and another moment where God like spoke to me specifically. And like, I don't know, now we're here in Idaho and I really feel like this was the place to be in the house that we're supposed to be in. And so many great things have happened from us being here.
Yeah.
When we follow God, when we are praying about things and putting God first, our lives have changed so drastically for the better.
Yeah.
And we've seen that too in our marriage where it's like, there are times, where you get in a funk and you're not, maybe God is not always the center of what we do. And those bad decisions or choices, cause issues.
Yeah.
And once you start putting God first, everything changes when you're intentional about, who you're living for.
Yeah, we've all, me and you, well, this year, 2024, new year, and I don't know why, but I feel good things will happen this year. Like
so hopeful
inside, and they are, and we see them; they're happening now. So we have me and you too. Like something feels different with this year. We're more excited for this year. and our marriage, our family, what we're doing in our life, and we're thankful we can share our testimony
Yeah.
to you, and hopefully this encourage you. Yeah, that God touched each one,
Hmm.
us, her, and me, about in our life and recently, and hopefully our testimony, um, it's will help you and encourage you to keep moving forward.
Well, and so
And
many things have happened, like you said, in 2024 at the very beginning. Yeah, we both felt so hopeful. I was like, I don't know what it is, but I'm so pumped for this year. I don't know
yeah,
what's going to happen, but I feel like really good things are going to happen. And
yeah,
soon after is when we were at Life Group, and Michael and
mhm,
Lindsay asked us to stay and just said, hey, we think that you two are ready to lead a life group. Would you consider leading?
mhm,
And I said, I felt we had both kind of thought about it individually without communicating that to one another.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so you're like, well, I have thought about that. And I said, actually, yeah, I was looking around at our living room, like, yeah, we could fit people in here. So Michael was like, well, I guess that's not a no.
yeah, yeah,
So we agreed to. And I mean, we live about a half hour away from our church. So most of the people that go there live close to the church or in that vicinity.
yeah,
We're in a different state
yeah, but really
across
close
the
to
border,
border,
but
but it's like,
so we're
yeah,
trying to get people that, live out here where we do and still go to the same church,
mhm.
to
Share,
open our home.
yeah, share life with them.
Hmm.
Um,
And make some new friends and
yeah,
community. And
mhm,
so that was one thing, like God, opening the doors for us to do that. Second, tithing. And I have to share about that real quick,
all
how
right,
um, I started tithing my own paycheck recently, which I just had never done before because I always left that up to, my husband to do. I'm like, I need to, put my money into that too. And after I started tithing, I think I got 5 clients. I also do a little bit of sales in in the screen printing company that I work for. And so I had received like some clients, and you get commissions off of those clients. And so there was that, like God showing up financially.
mhm,
And also when I said I was going to tithe, to be obedient, to not do it just for gain, thinking, oh, if I tithe, he's going to, give me something in return.
yeah,
It's to
yeah,
do it out of obedience because we
mhm,
love God and we
mhm,
know he's going to take care of us. And the Bible
yeah,
promises us that. And so that was what I held on to. Like, you know what? I'm not going to be hesitant about it. I'm just going to give in faith the first 10% of every paycheck. Here you go.
yeah,
And do with me what you want. And
yeah,
so, bam, I get 5 clients. And there have been times too where maybe we've been paycheck to paycheck wondering, how are we going to make this next bill?
yeah, mhm,
Something happens, like we were gifted money through our church once.
yeah,
And
mhm,
we're able to fix something that needed to be fixed in our
yeah,
camper. But God always shows up somehow. We're always able to make a bill that we don't think we can. And
mhm,
so just really having faith in this season has really helped. And then, recently I was given another raise,
yeah,
something completely unexpected that I didn't ask for, wasn't even thinking about.
yeah, nice raise.
And
Mhm,
so I'm like, God is always showing up. And just even about this house and how we got the house. Oh, so many good things. But I
yeah,
think we're getting kind of long here in this podcast.
yeah,
But yeah, we're excited to share our testimony with you guys.
mhm,
I think that a lot of good lessons can come from this. And hopefully, like he said, we inspire you guys in your walk with God. Or if you're not a believer, maybe this has sparked something in you to kind of think about or pursue. If you've, maybe been looking for a sign or questioning, is God real? Or does God love me? I mean, hopefully this story can show you that even 2 broken people, he can still fix that.
yeah,
He can fix anything, any problem that you're having.
mhm,
Call out to him, and he's always there.
mhm,
So we're pretty happy and excited knowing like everything in our marriage that we face together and we face with God,
mhm,
and nothing can tear us apart
yeah,
unless we open that door for Satan to come in and do that. Oh,
yeah,
I think we're gonna have a good year. It's gonna
yeah,
be a good
we
year.
will.
Oh, also, the podcast is
Oh,
the
yeah.
other thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of the other big thing that's
Yeah.
happened since we were talking
Yeah.
about it,
Uh-huh.
which also Michael and Lindsay suggested us to
Yeah.
do. So I feel like them having faith in us, like this is something we never would have just even thought about on our own or pursued.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a shy person. I still feel awkward talking to a camera, to an audience that's probably not even there.
Yeah. I can talk in front of people, but my speaking abilities, sometimes I get nervous when I know what I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
but my mouth, my brain, not connecting too well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so
It's a little awkward for us
yeah,
to be doing this. Out of character, I guess. But I think the more we go on, the easier it will be. So sorry if we're awkward. Sorry if this is weird.
Sorry.
It's weird for us too.
Yep.
Like I kind of feel stupid, but
yeah.
But we're sharing God's word and our testimony, and that's not stupid. So, But anyway, there will be many more episodes to come. And I don't remember what our next one is going to be about, but we'll figure it out. Oh, and our next video will have something new.
Oh, yeah, maybe the next video, or
I hope so.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll tell you, and you guys will see later if you're watching on YouTube. But again, don't forget to like and subscribe or share this with somebody that you know it might help them in their life, their walk with God. And anything else you'd like to add?
I think that's it.
Right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Hope we inspired you, and we'll see you next time.
All right. See you
Bye.
later. Bye.